All right, so Carol, Sue, it's been about a week and a half since we got home from our Michigan Upper Peninsula Pigeon Rocks trip. You may have seen some of the prior videos, and if you did, you get a more in-depth look at what we did along the trip. This video is kind of just to wrap it up, give you an idea of how we traveled, how far we went, what the cost was, and talk about some of the memberships that we used to do this kind of travel.
Except for the 6 days we stayed at the Munising Tourist Park, which was the name of the campground we stayed at. Every day, if you watch the videos, we were saying we don't know where we're staying tonight or how far we're going today, and that is like on our travel days what we
do. So when we originally started this trip, we were going to go spend a little more time going through Canada. After we saw what the price of gas was, even with the exchange rate, it was still going to be kind of expensive. And the time we did spend there, we found that the cost of goods was much higher than we thought it was going to be. So the original trip was supposed to be around 1,000 miles. We ended up doing 1,320. We spent less time in Canada than we planned to, and we did spend a couple of days in Sault Ste. Marie area doing a little tourist stuff, driving around, so some of the miles were from that as well.
And that was just out, not the total mileage.
Right. So for the cost of the trip, on gas we spent $959.59, and that would be the biggest expense we had for the whole trip. Makes sense since we're hauling a 24-foot trailer with a Chevy Silverado.
So the average gas mile for the entire trip was 11.5 miles per gallon.
Right. That counts the time with and without the camp. So we don't have an MPG calculation. We lost track of that conversion when we got to Canada, and they were selling by liters. We just couldn't be bothered with doing the liter to gallons conversion.
I mean, we have the ending mileage, and that's what we spent, $959 whatever on gas. So that's our biggest cost when we take any trip like this. The biggest cost is always gas.
Yeah. So for lodging, our total was $322. That included the 6 nights that we stayed at the Munising Tourist Park campground, and so that was kind of full service camping. It was the only full service camping we paid for on the trip. We stayed at 3 casinos, and generally the casinos are free. However, we did pay for one because they had a little campground in there, and you could get electricity. You had access to water, a dump station, and you could also use the casino pool. So we paid $25 a night for that one, stayed 2 nights. Yeah. We stayed at 3 Harvest Host, and we've talked a little bit about those in our videos. One was in Canada, one in Ohio, and one in Pennsylvania. The one in Pennsylvania was awesome.
Yeah, that had full hookups.
Yeah. We did spend one night tent camping at Chapel Rock. We had planned on 2, but we got all the hiking done that we wanted to do in the one day, so we hiked out that night.
And we did pay for a permit.
We paid for the permit for that.
Ahead of time, yeah.
Yeah, and that was $30 for 2 nights. It would have been $60 for 2 nights, but we used the National Parks Lifetime Senior Pass, so we got half off. I lumped some stuff in under other. It included amusement park fees, tolls, some little miscellaneous stuff. That was $286.30. We don't count food in our expenses because it wouldn't have mattered where we were going to eat anyway.
We don't eat out a lot, so we don't spend a lot of money. On this trip we did eat, we probably ate
5 times. Yeah. We went to, we stopped at local restaurants 5 times. We did a little taste of the local food there, and then one night we were just coming back from that camping trip. We'd hiked like 25 miles over 2 days. We were starving, so we stopped and got a burger. But the total of our expenses for this trip was $1,567.89. Again, that doesn't include anything we spent. Like we went to casinos. We park in their parking lot. Obviously, we went in and spent money there. We don't count that stuff in the expenses. That's not something we split. We're on our own there.
And that's something we would pay that most people probably, I don't know. I guess we count as an entertainment cost, but whatever. That would be different for different people.
Yeah. The total mileage on the whole trip was 3,026 miles. Like Sue said, we averaged 11.5 miles a gallon. Generally, when the trailer's hooked up, we get 9 to 10 miles a gallon. So the 11.5, that takes into account the fact times that the trailer was not attached to the truck and we were out doing some sightseeing. So for paid memberships, we have 3 that we pay for. Harvest Host, which we talked about quite a bit. We just have the classic membership. It's $99 a year. That allows you to park in people use their businesses, whether it's a farm, a winery, a distillery, as I said, churches.
The church and museum this time.
Church and museum, various places. Once you join, you can just go in and search the area where you are, and it will tell you where you can park. It's usually just overnight parking, one night, self-contained. In most cases, like I said, we did get that one that was full hookups, which was a real treat. You would be expected to make a purchase at the business, but other than that, that's
You don't
the
have
only,
to.
You don't.
There's no obligation to do that. It's just,
Yeah.
anything.
We made a donation at the museum. We made a donation at the church. So one of the good things about Harvest Host is compared to, say, just pulling into a truck stop or a Walmart, you can unhook your camper. You can unhook the truck. You can use a generator. If you need to run some errands, it's a nice place to leave the camper, go out and run some errands, come back, and generally, they're very flat. There's not they're easy to park at, in our experience. So there is definitely value in that $99 you pay for the year.
You can book them last minute.
Yeah.
Some of them don't let you do that, but most of them do.
Yeah, everyone that we stayed at this time, we booked it day of.
Yeah.
And just were able to stop in. So one of the other things, and we just started using this trip, is called Road Trippers Plus. It's an app that it's still in beta stages right now, but we found it very useful. One of the things that like Google Maps or Waze or those things, you have to pay a lot of money for them to be compatible with RV travel, to tell you where there is a low clearance or where there's a hazmat restriction. Some places you just don't want to get into when you're hauling a camper, and your normal GPS isn't going to tell you that. Road Trippers is $35.99 for the year. You can put in the height of your camper, your vehicle, what you're driving, let it know if you have propane on board, and it will give you a route that will avoid places where you shouldn't be with that vehicle.
Yeah, and anything else we looked at, like there are trucker apps, but actually, obviously they're geared towards a commercial truck driver. Yeah, and they're very expensive. This is the first thing we found that's affordable.
And it also, you can go in and have it. I just made a trip. We're planning another trip in a week or so, and I went in and told it to look for overnight parking along the trip. You can ask it to look for gas stations, rest stops, and it will load all of that onto your map for you. It'll tell you where there's like free overnight RV parking, or if you're looking for campgrounds or whatever, it'll load it right onto the map for your trip. Dump stations, which is very good. I mean, normally, one of the things we've struggled with on trips like this in the past is, not struggled with, I mean, you just pay for a campground, but finding water is a tough one.
It's harder to find water than it is a dump station.
Yeah. But this helped us. We used this. We had no issues either with dumping or finding water.
I mean, it's not perfect, but it did the job for us. We really like it. Yeah.
So the other thing, and anybody who is 62 or older should get this. If you like to travel and you're interested in seeing some national parks, the National Park Lifetime Senior Pass. I got mine a few years ago. It was $80. That's it. You pay it once in your life, and it covers you. I mean, we got half price on our camping permits for Chapel Rock. We've gotten in free any place that we went sightseeing at that was a national park and they charged an entrance fee or a parking fee was free because we had that pass.
Yeah, like even in the White Mountains here, any of the places that usually will have you pay to park. If you just have this, you hang it in the window, it's free to park.
Yeah, and this paid for itself in the first year that I had it.
All the camping is half price in national parks, right? And like say if you want to go Shenandoah Skyline Drive, they usually, I don't know what they're up to now, like $35 to drive a car through there, I think. It could be even more, somewhere between 25 and whatever. But it's free, things like that.
This was a good trip. We liked the test of the road trippers went well. We were really testing out. We wanted to go to do some backpacking somewhere besides the White Mountains.
Yeah.
Backpacking and hiking in the White Mountains is pretty rugged if you don't, if you've never done it before. We wanted to take a look and see if we really liked backpacking and try someplace where it wouldn't be quite as rugged. And Pictured Rocks was a good area for that.
Yeah.
It was definitely a good area for that. The hiking there was great. Like I said, we did 25 miles over 2 days.
Right.
We slept out in the campground overnight. We carried all our gear out. It was nice.
Yeah, so, I mean, an example is, I think we had to hike out over 3 miles with the pack on. So our pack's somewhere between 25 and 30 pounds. And if you hike 3 miles up in the White Mountains with elevation, it's hard. It's really tough to do. And we walked out that 3 miles or whatever at Pictured Rocks, and it was really a
Easy.
breeze. I mean, compared to what we were used to doing. So, yeah.
Overall, it was a good trip. I don't think we'll be going back to Michigan's Upper Peninsula anytime in the future. It's just not on the way to anywhere. You really have to drive out of your way to get there. You have to be deliberate about going there.
Yeah.
We had beautiful weather, not a drop of rain the whole time we were gone. The temperatures were in the 70s during the day. They were 40s to 50s overnight.
Yeah.
It was the night we stayed out. We camped out in the tents.
Oh, it was warm.
It was warm. It was beautiful. We couldn't ask for a better 2 weeks. We could have easily taken 2 days off this trip. We took 4 days getting out there. We didn't need to do that. We spent 2 nights at that casino. But
Yeah.
we like to take our time. We don't want to be rushed.
On the way home, we actually stopped at a truck stop, and it was Sunday because we watched the NASCAR race. We just stayed there for, must have been about 3 hours, and just
Watched
watched
the race.
and then so we really just took our time.
But overall, it was a good trip. I enjoyed myself. We had a good time, but not in any hurry to go back there. And didn't love traveling in Canada either.
No, yeah, it was just, you know what? I think if we were looking to do some specific sightseeing up there, would it be different? I mean, we were just
I guess that's it. I don't really have anything else to add.
just waiting to do our next trip.
Yeah, probably next week.
Yeah, trying to get one in before the snow flies.